Welcome back to Income Trading 101, and today is May the 10th, 2021. We're going to take a little bit of a technical analysis look at Virgin Galactic Holdings, symbol S as in Sierra, P as in Papa, C as in Charlie, E as in Echo. Let's go ahead and pull this out so we can see the data as far back as we can. You can see for a long time that this stock was flat, super flat. Got a little bit of a dip, had a spike, pulled almost all the way back, had a slow grind higher, pull back, and then you see the spike that happened this year in January 2021. So I'm going to first get rid of this volume. I just really want to see what price action has done, and also getting a better sense of the levels that we're sitting on and any historical relevance. But let's go ahead and dive in. Before I get into all that, we'll just do some moving averages just to kind of go with a base level of knowledge. I like to use 3 different moving averages. We're going to start off with the 10-day. It's going to be my short-term moving average, so I'm going to make that one green. That'll be my buy signal if I'm going to trade off of moving averages. Next up will be the 20-day, and I'll use that as my sell. It's my mid-range. And then the 60 gives me a good idea of where this stock has been. So you can see, just looking at even the last year, when the price is going higher, you're going to get all three moving averages in line, but the short term is going to be the highest. The midterm will be next, and then the longer term will be significantly below it. And you can tell each time that price has gone higher, that's been the case. Even back here in December, you saw all 3 in line. And certainly with a downward trend, we'll see the 60-day higher than the 20, which will both be higher than the 10-day. And that's exactly where we are right now. Much more of a downward trend in this stock at the daily level. Let's look at some shorter time frames and see what we see. So at the 1 hour, even though these the 20 and the 10 period still sort of touch and move apart, they still right now are very much in line with each, the 60, the 20, and the 10 all being in order, with the 10 being the lowest and the 20, the mid-range, being in the middle. Let's take a look at the 30, see if that too is also bearish, more bearish. You get a little bit more of a separation between the 20 period and the 10 period than we saw in the 1 hour. And of course the 15-minute will also be bearish. So that's pretty much consistent across the board. All signs with the moving average are pointing to bearish. Now, one thing that's interesting with moving averages, it's a lagging indicator. And so the way to make it more relevant to your trades at this moment is to use different time frames. So a lot of guys will say, well, Eric, how many indicators do you use? Honestly, sometimes I'll take a look at 1, sometimes I'll take a look at 5. But even if I only use 1, if I manipulate time, meaning if I look at it using different time frames, then that's like using more than 1 indicator, because I'm getting validation from different periods of time, even if only using the same indicator. So I think that can also be valid for a little trading, some trading hints. Let's go ahead and kick over to the MACD. Now, some guys use the relative strength index, the RSI. I prefer to use the MACD as my momentum indicator. And wow, you can see how this really affects. So we had a nice crossover in positive territory, positive because this is above the 0 line. This crossover, it fell on beneath the 0 line, pointing to a significant bearish period. Now, oftentimes I like to wait until I see I want the MACD to confirm itself by going through the 0 line, and I'm certain it would have done that earlier using a shorter time frame. So I also like to say, you enter a trade using the shorter term time frame, and then you manage it using the larger. So now that we are sort of in a steady downward trend, at least at the daily, you'll see more of a sideways pattern with the MACD, and that makes it significantly harder to use as a trading signal. We saw that back here in 2020 as well. But let's take it down to the 1 hour and see what's available there. So check that out, right? We had a big crossover above the zero line, and then since then it's just been lower, 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 but still staying in negative territory. We did have a crossover that pulled us back into positive here, but this cross here that would have happened last week or 2 weeks ago was a significant one, because not only did it cross showing a bearish signal in positive territory, but then it crossed the zero line and went on lower as well. We saw that going lower in stock price. So very much a tradable indicator this time, although MACD is not my favorite to use because it can do kind of weird oscillations that make it tough to use as a trading signal. Here on the 27th, you would have had a crossover, a nice sell signal above the zero line, and then it crossed a little later, really a couple days later, it crossed below into negative territory. And at this point, had you sold it, you still would have been selling around $22 a share. And given that it's trading at roughly $18 a share, that would have been a nice little run, just shy of 25% in a matter of weeks, couple weeks. So and let's take a look one more time at the 15. The 15 is obviously going to be a lot more sensitive. Like, we had another crossover a few days ago, and it immediately fell below the zero line, and so this would have still been a legitimate short. I'd be cautious using using the MACD for a rebound or retracement trade, because it can kind of react more volatile. Like, look at this period on May 3rd, how volatile this buy is, all the way to the point where it crosses the zero line, and you probably would have wanted to get in. That buy signal is here, right? So it pulled on off, fell there. You probably would have gotten shaken out on this. And if not, still you wouldn't have made that much money given the amount of risk that you actually held, even though the movement down here was significant. So that's why it's another reason why it's good to always be aware of the positives and negatives of any indicator that you're using, because they all have their flaws and they all have their benefits, and you definitely want to make sure that you know what they are before you go getting involved and actually, using your hard-earned capital to make decisions. So I'm going to just draw over our current price line, just so that you get a better sense of where things are. So this region kind of played as price support back in November of 2020, and I would actually call it back here in September resistance. We saw it as resistance in May of 2020. Sort of the middle point for the period from late April to early May of 2020, and a little bit of resistance there. So we're at an area that could have a region that could have a lot of importance, and just because I love my sideways channels. No, I'm kidding. These are I have placed historically my worst trades during times of sideways channeling. So I literally look for them all the time just to save myself the hassle, the pain that I know I will ultimately endure if I'm not well aware of it. So let's see. I want to feel like this is mostly flat. So you have this sort of price sideways action from April of 2020 until the breakout that happened in November, and now price is actually right back in that what's interesting is that the top of that channel also played resistance just a couple of weeks ago on April 27th. So is it valid? I don't know, but it very well may be. It's definitely worth being aware, right? It's just being aware of the levels and what could be. Doesn't mean it has to be, but it just means that it could be, because sometimes there are orders that didn't get placed. There are maybe most importantly sentiment that is still waiting to be expressed by institutional dollars. So that's that for this channel. I would do a Fibonacci retracement. The reason I'm avoiding it is that when you get to a 100% retracement of the previous trend, and we are only a few dollars away from that, it's really just not as helpful. It's more helpful when you're seeing, a 28.3, a 38.6, 61.8. Some of those numbers, I think, are more relevant. But when you've got a full retracement, for me, that becomes less relevant to your trading, right? Because a full retracement's a full retracement. So honestly, we are just about there right now. I would put the low at closer to this, $14 range, $14.50. We're like $3.50 off of that right now. So, otherwise, maybe we will see this come on up. But right now, just to give you one more visual, this is not looking like it's headed higher anytime soon. Look how tight that nice little range is. So it is actually very likely that we're going to get to the bottom of this region, which about 73, 74 or so. So chances are we'll reach that. That seemed to be a fairly important level previously, and it likely will play a role as well. So we're talking about roughly $3.32 in this stock that we could see it fall before we see a new direction take place. So we're close to the 100% retracement. Another $3 and we'll be there. Just if you're trading this, just know your levels. Be well aware. Now, when we have these trends and all of that, and these levels of support, doesn't mean we have to go back there at all. But I am saying that it's likely, given how many times that price action has touched it before. So be vigilant. Keep an eye out on what may happen. And, if you're looking at buying the market, selling some puts in a scenario like this wouldn't be a bad thing. The price is going down, and so the volatility is probably fairly high. And with that, I imagine the puts are priced very well, so you get paid to actually turn around and buy the stock. But that's neither here nor there. If you're not an options trader and you don't understand that, don't add risk to your portfolio that you don't understand. And of course, this video is simply for entertainment. I'm not making an attempt to give you investment advice. So, hey, have a wonderful week. Happy trading. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe. I make videos for stock, for crypto, occasionally for futures trading. So always interested in hearing your comments if this is a stock that you own or one that you're looking at owning because you love the management team. Yeah, that's it. Have a great day. Happy trading. So long.